The first half of 2025 wasn't a breakthrough, but a time when you slowly began to realize that you couldn't keep living the same way. A quiet awakening, a subtle knock on the heart every time you pushed yourself to do the right thing but felt hollow inside. You've done everything they told you to do, worked hard, stayed stable, lived frugally, but in return, you feel more distant from yourself with each passing day. And perhaps the biggest question, one no one has dared to ask you directly, is, are you really living or just trying not to fall short of other people's expectations? The post-pandemic world has stripped away a harsh truth. Stability no longer exists the way it used to. Jobs that were once seen as safe have now become what suffocates your spirit day after day. Rent prices have skyrocketed. Workplaces have become more demanding, yet expectations have never lowered. You're not lazy, you're not weak. You're simply losing your inner light because you keep walking a path that no longer belongs to you. If you're a Sagittarius, a child of Jupiter, the planet of belief, expansion, and freedom, then 2025 didn't come to challenge you further. It came to help you see clearly it's time to take a different turn. Not because you haven't done enough, but because you've been putting effort in the wrong place. Not because you didn't try hard enough, but because you haven't chosen the right thing. And by right, it's not what society says is right, but what is right for the truth of who you are. You don't need someone to come and save you, but you do need to stop and look closely. What is draining your life energy without giving anything worthwhile in return? And why? Even after letting go of what no longer fits, hasn't the flow of money returned the way you hoped? Because you still haven't fully understood who you are among the millions of Sagittarians in the world. Not everyone born between November 22 and December 21 is the same. Astrology divides Sagittarius into 3 birth groups, and each carries its own path to awaken prosperity, purpose, and how you attract wealth. Some need to let go of others' expectations in order to rewrite the rules of their own game. Some need to say no to the safe things that are quietly draining them. And some, at just the right time and with one right decision, will see abundance erupt like a spring that's been blocked for too long. In the next section, you'll find out exactly which group you belong to, and more importantly, how to activate the flow of money in alignment with your true frequency in the second half of 2025, a time when opportunity is moving quickly but also quietly. Are you ready to look back and see clearly? Don't scroll past, because missing just a few lines here might mean missing the chance to shift your financial path. A message the universe has sent at the right time to the right person, you. Since early 2025, you may have started to sense that something about how you live and earn money no longer feels right. It's not exactly failure, but more like a vague wrongness. As if everything on the outside still seems fine, yet inside there's a void. You've done what's expected, you've kept things stable, avoided rocking the boat. But the more you try to hold it all together, the more drained you feel. Each morning, it takes more effort just to keep doing what once felt familiar. When looking at the astrological chart patterns for Sagittarians born between November 22 and December 1, the cause becomes clearer. In the first half of 2025, Uranus and Black Moon Lilith have been intensely activating your second house, the area tied to finances, personal values, and your sense of survival security. This isn't the kind of influence that causes immediate loss. It's more of an underground shift. You begin to question your current path, feeling unsure about how you're using your energy to make a living. You haven't lost your job, but you've lost your drive. You're not broke, but the money you make doesn't seem to nourish you. For early season Sagittarians, where Jupiter's energy is still pure and undiluted, what you need isn't just a job, but a sense of meaning in what you do. When you're forced to live a rhythm that doesn't allow you to express what you understand or share what you believe, you start to feel like a stranger to yourself. That's the root of your energy depletion. even when everything looks fine on the surface. The second half of 2025 won't necessarily be easier, but it will be clearer. This is the time to look directly at what's draining you day after day. Is it a job that no longer fits? A spending habit meant to give temporary comfort? Or a lifestyle model you're trying to maintain so no one feels disappointed? None of these answers are wrong, as long as you're willing to face them honestly. For this group of Sagittarians, your core energy lies in your ability to communicate, explain, tell stories, and connect from real experience. When you speak from understanding, people listen. When you share what you've lived through, others feel it. The issue is, you haven't been using that gift. Maybe you thought it wasn't worth anything. Maybe no one ever paid you for it, but the truth is, if you dare to use it again, the right way, money will not only come, but come in a form you can actually hold on to. You might be thinking, sure, I want to live authentically, but so what? Who's going to pay for that? That's a valid question, a real one. Because your birth chart, strongly influenced by Jupiter, shows that you don't run on the desire to make money. You run on the need to feel that what you do is useful. The paradox is, when you abandon that sense of usefulness, both money and vitality begin to stall. You're not lazy, you've just lost connection with what originally fueled you. Have you ever helped a friend understand a messy situation in minutes? Guided a new coworker in a way that made things instantly clear? Shared a personal story online and had people deeply resonate? Those weren't small things. They were signs that your ability to articulate is being locked away, while it's the very key that could unlock your financial flow. You don't need to be famous. You don't need thousands of followers. You just need the right few people, those who need exactly what you know. And what you know is what you've struggled through, questioned, doubted. But when you tell it clearly, someone else gets to shorten their path. Money doesn't come because you force yourself to create a product. It comes because you help someone save time, avoid mistakes, or recover trust. And you already have that power, but you still think, who would care? Notice this, the times when you spend money impulsively, aren't they often moments when you feel out of control? When you can't speak your truth, when you can't be yourself, when you feel like you're acting. Money doesn't slip away because you're wasteful, it slips away because you're trying to buy temporary relief. But that relief never lasts because it doesn't touch the real empty space inside. That empty space can only be filled by living truthfully, sharing honestly, working from a place of real understanding. Even if you start small, it will grow into a space big enough to hold money, peace, and the self-trust you thought you had lost. Think simply, a support session for newcomers, a short podcast series on something you struggled with, a small product born from a lesson you paid a price for. As long as you begin from what's real, it will find its place. You don't need a stage. You just need resonance. And if you find yourself spending more just to feel better, pause for a moment. You're not being reckless, you're trying to fill a gap. But once you fill that space, by living rightly, you'll naturally stop overspending. No reminders needed. Finally, remember this. You're not meant to juggle many things. You're meant to do one thing, but go deep, go all in, and go from a place that is truly yours. Sustainable finances won't come from pushing harder. They will come from the moment you stop, choose correctly, and let your energy flow where it truly belongs. If you were born between December 2 and December 11, your energy is a fusion of Jupiter and Mars. One side holds wide vision, the other relentless action. That's why the first half of 2025 may have left you in a state of, I've done so much, and I'm still stuck. Not because you've been lazy, not because you've chosen the wrong path, but because the direction you've been following has shifted and you haven't had time to adjust your pace. In your birth chart, the first house, second house finances, and sixth house daily work are being strongly activated. That stretches your energy across all fronts, wanting to prove yourself, managing money pressures, and handling the daily grind. You may feel like you're spinning in circles just to stop everything from collapsing. But the more you spin, the less you know what you truly want. If you're exhausted but can't stop, it's because Mars, in your core energy, won't let you sit still. You're used to do more, and it'll work. But the second half of 2025 demands the opposite. Not to do more, but to do better. Not to spread yourself thin, but to pull back and choose what genuinely matters long term. You also belong to a group that's highly susceptible to the pressure of quick success. You have strong inner power, which makes you harder on yourself. Why am I not further by now? What am I doing wrong? But your chart shows you're not wrong. You're simply using an old formula for a chapter that's already turned. This second half of the year is the time to redesign your personal operating system. From how you work, to your routines, to how you define what's truly right for you. You don't thrive in checklist-driven jobs, and you can't stand robotic procedures. You need to see the big picture, to create strategy, to work in a way that gives you control. And if you've ever tried hard to get it right by someone else's standards, now is the time to ask yourself, am I doing this to protect my image or to live authentically? If you can't tell the difference, you'll find that the more you work, the more drained you become, and the less your money stays. You may be asking, but I've done everything right. Why am I still not seeing results? The answer is right by whose definition? If you're living by what others believe success looks like, money will come in ways you can't hold on to. But if you live in alignment with who you really are, all it takes is one clear path and your energy will start to gather. And when it gathers, your finances will flow in the right direction. You're not meant to do everything alone, but you're also not meant to follow others blindly. You're meant to design your own system and lead others through it. If you've ever had to tear down and rebuild your life, that is your greatest asset. Turn it into a product, a course, a support group, or a niche service. It's also likely that you've been spending money not out of need, but out of pressure. Buying something just to release stress. Signing up for a course only to quit halfway. Taking a trip to feel like you're not falling behind. But here's the truth. What you lack isn't money, it's direction. When you have clear direction, you'll stop spending to fill a void. You'll start investing intentionally, and from there, your finances will stabilize. You don't need to quit your job immediately, but you do need to start building a parallel path, something rooted in your own experience with a guiding purpose that could slowly become a more solid foundation. And you need to begin that now, not when you've already burned out and are scrambling to recover. If you were born between December 12th and December 21, you're entering the final stretch of the Sagittarius sign. This is where the energy no longer rises with fiery speed like the early season, but instead slows down, deepens, and becomes more grounded. You still have vision, but no longer feel rushed. You carry ambition, but also discipline. That's because you embody the combination of Jupiter and Saturn, two planets representing ideals and reality. And this blend makes you profoundly different from the two previous groups. In the first half of 2025, you may have started feeling the need to clarify your role in life, not just in work, but in terms of your place, your influence, and what makes you feel useful. For this group, Jupiter is moving into the 7th house, governing relationships, partnerships, and social identity. At the same time, Saturn begins to influence your 4th house, governing emotions, roots, and your sense of belonging. This shift places you in a position where living halfway is no longer sustainable. You must now determine what's worth keeping and what needs to go. You may have carried burdens beyond your share, within family, work, or relationships where you've taken on more than your role. But the second half of this year asks, what am I living for? And does where I stand still nourish the deepest part of me? You are no longer aligned with superficial things. You don't want trends. You don't want to do something just to check a box. You need a solid foundation, a robust system, and a roadmap with a clear destination. Because you're not working for the moment, you're building to go the distance. And yet, because of this, you might find yourself saying, I'm doing everything right, so why does it still feel heavy? Here's the answer. You are doing things right by your high standards, but you haven't let go of the expectation that you must carry everything alone. You tend to plan everything, shoulder all responsibilities, and keep tight control. But this year, your greatest lesson is this. You don't have to do it all alone, and you cannot do everything perfectly. You may be asking, I have a plan, I'm disciplined. Why isn't the money flowing as expected? Because you are spreading your energy too thin across effort and responsibility. You're pouring into everything at once, managing the home, sustaining work, keeping people from being disappointed. But in your chart, Saturn suppressing the fourth house suggests you're lacking a system that feeds you in return. The issue isn't income, it's retention. The second half of the year calls for a complete reorganization of your life systems, finances, time, and emotional energy. You thrive on structure and strategy, so instead of firefighting piece by piece, choose one solid direction to focus on. That could mean taking on a role as a mentor, trainer, team leader, program coordinator, or solution architect. Any position that requires organizing, long-term thinking, and precise execution, you can excel at. If people often come to you for advice, then it's time to professionalize that role. Coaching, personal consultation, career guidance, or potential development. When you help someone restructure their life, you also reinforce your own foundation. You may also be spending money just to preserve the system you once built, even if it's outdated. Paying off something that's lost value, holding on to a relationship that drains you, paying to play roles you no longer want. These expenses quietly erode your budget, not because you're living wrongly, but because you haven't yet taken the decisive step to reframe it all. You don't need to walk away from everything, but you do need to redraw your life map guided by the principle, if it no longer feeds me, I no longer keep it. You're not meant for recklessness, you're made for careful calculation, firm foundations, and steady steps. As long as you focus your heart in the right place, you may move slowly, but you'll arrive on time. And when you live in alignment with your true role, money won't come to rescue you, it will come to reinforce you. You've now made it through the first half of 2025. Some of you have let go of what no longer fits. Some are still stuck in a cycle they can't seem to exit. Others are lost, not knowing where to begin. But regardless of which group you fall into or what day you were born, the second half of this year still holds enough time for you to walk a new path, if you're ready. If you were born between November 22 and December 1, your most important task is to live truthfully. Use your own experience to speak, to share, to guide. The moment you stop hiding, you'll realize money doesn't come because you force it, but because you dare to be clear. If you were born between December 2 and December 11, what you need is direction. You don't have to do everything at once. You just need to focus your energy in one right direction, one clear framework, one path that bears the imprint of who you truly are. If you were born between December 12th and December 21, what matters most isn't how much you're doing right, but what you choose to keep that still holds meaning. You don't have to carry everything, you just need to rearrange so that the deepest part of you doesn't go unfed. Finances are not just numbers, they're the flow of your life force being gathered in the right place. When you live off course, money slips away. When you live in alignment, money stays. And you don't need anyone to affirm that. You only need to test it for yourself through each decision you make from now on. Share your birth date in the comments and speak one thing you're quietly pursuing or one thing you're trying to release. Sometimes just writing it down helps you see your path more clearly, and perhaps someone else who's struggling just like you might read it and feel a little less alone. If this message resonates with the energy you're carrying into the second half of 2025, save it, share it, or send it to a Sagittarius you care about, because maybe they too need a gentle reminder from the universe. See you on the next journey.